Hey guys, in this video I'm going to show you how to use Photoshop template files. These can be template files for social media graphics or workbooks and many other usage modes. But most often you can find them when you search for social media templates. I already opened up a file, and this file is actually from my product Scandinavia Instagram Story Pack. I shared 3 of these Photoshop files under the video, so if you want a free sample for this product, you can scroll down and download them and practice working with the different type of Photoshop layers. Because what you really have to know about Photoshop and Photoshop layers is that there are separate different type of layers, and if you know about them, it really helps you work easily with these templates. It's really not hard to use these template files. You mostly have to just use the layer panel, the selection tool, and some of the typography settings. So if you don't have the layer panel, just go up to Window and make sure that the layers have a little check mark next to it. So when you use Photoshop, there are different type of layers. This layer, the background layer, is just an everyday, normal, nothing special layer in Photoshop. You can move it around, you can change the size of course, but if you want to change the color of it, you actually have to go here to the Fill tool and recolor it. On the other hand, there are some special layers with more advanced usage that makes it easier to work with these files. And these are the Smart Object layers. You see the little icon on the thumbnail, the layered preview thumbnail. This means that this is a Photoshop Smart Object layer. There are also shape layers. So this little rectangle is a shape layer, this one, which means that you can size it up or down without losing quality because it works as a vector graphic file or a vector graphic element, not as a bitmap or raster graphic element. And the last type of layers that you have to know about are the text layers. So everything here that are text are editable, and you will have this little T as the thumbnail preview image on the layer panel. So let's see what's the difference between these layer types and how to create and use them. Let's start with Photoshop Smart Object layers. In this file, I created this Photoshop Smart Object layer where you can actually paste in your photo. In order to open up a Photoshop Smart Object layer and work inside in it, you have to double-click on the thumbnail image. And if you double-click, it actually opens up in a new tab. You see this gray rectangle? That's the place for your image in the template file. And when I open it up, here I can actually paste in my image. So let's grab an image. Here are my files, my photo files. So let's say I want to put in this yummy pumpkin soup recipe image. I just drag and drop in it inside and size it to where I really want to have. But make sure to follow here the percentage. It's never good to go up more in scale over 100% because you will lose image quality. I'm right now at 45%, so that's great. But if you see that it's start to go over 100, maybe it's better to find another image or look for the same image in a bigger size. So I pasted it and I just press Ctrl S to save it, or you can go to File, Save. And when I go back to my original file, you see, instead of my gray rectangle, now I have my image. So this is exactly how Smart Object layers work in Photoshop. Whatever you do inside that Smart Object layer on the separate tab will be saved to your final image. If I would create an animation, because you can create animation in Photoshop, if I would create an animation here, that would appear here inside my rectangle. If I add another layer, let's say I just brush over it with white and I save it, Ctrl S, and I go back, I see what happened here. Now you might ask, how do I make a Smart Object file, a Smart Object layer? It's really easy. Let's create another layer, another rectangle. I just come here, I set up some guides so that I keep it at the same place. Okay, let's set up a Smart Object layer here. I actually will create it with a rectangle because I want another rectangle image here. So you see, this one is just a regular white rectangle. It doesn't have the same thumbnail as my Smart Object layer. What I have to do is right click here, scroll down and choose Convert to Smart Object. And now you see my thumbnail icon changed. It became a Smart Object layer. If I go inside, I can drop in again another photo. Let's say I want to drop in this couch photo. And I just size it up to what I want, yeah, and save it. And when I go back to my original file, you see, here's my original file. And here's the Smart Object layer that we created. It's really easy to create them. You can create them to different shapes too. Let's say I want a circle Smart Object here, Smart Object layer. I just delete this one, yes. So I come here down and instead of a rectangle I choose the ellipse tool, and while holding the shift I can create a circle. Now if I go in, you see it's still just shape layer, so I have to first right click and change it into a Smart Object. Now if I double click on it, it opens up my Smart Object layer, and I will bring here my image, let's say this fall themed image. Now the problem you see is that, wait, it's still a rectangle. If I save it this way, oh no, it's still a rectangle. What should I do with this? I go back to the ellipse and you see, I still have my ellipse in the background. So what I do, I right click on it and choose Create Clipping Mask. So now it clips into that shape in the background. I save it and I go back, and now I have my circle shaped smart object layer. It's really easy to do it, and really easy to modify a template file that someone created for you. So I really encourage you to download these files and try to paste in your own images or create new smart object layers. Now let's talk about shape layers in Photoshop. Shape layers have this little square icon on their thumbnail image, which refers to their vector graphic feature. Because if you pick shape layer and then you press Ctrl T to transform it and you scale it up, you see it will have perfect smooth edge. On the other hand, if you would scale up something that's just drawn with maybe the brush tool on a regular layer, let's say I pick this brush and you scale it up, you see at the edge you would lose the smoothness. It would become very blurry, pixelated. So that's why it's really good to have shape layers for those elements that are just, well, actually shapes, like these frames or these squares, rectangles, circles, triangles, even some more intricate shapes like brush strokes and blobs of one homogeneous color. So there are some pretty good things that you can do very quickly with shape layers. You can double click on their thumbnail to recolor them. You get the color picker when you double click, and you just recolor them very easily. You can also choose either these selection tools here down. Maybe I just choose the direct selection tool, and you can choose the little points that define these shapes, and you can move them around and create even weirder shapes. These are the most interesting and most useful parts of shape layers. So if I would like to change this mood board color palette, I would just go to color box 1. Let's say I want it to be turquoise. Then the second one should be this bluish purple color. The next one, I can even go outside of the color picker to get the color picker tool and choose a color I already have and modify it a little bit. Or I can type in the hex code, the CMYK or the RGB numbers to get the exact color that I want. Okay, let's take a bit deeper yellow, and the last color can be like a dark black kind of color. And now you have a different color palette than what you had at the beginning. You can of course go ahead and change the frame colors too. So let's say I want all of the frames to have this color. And here you go, I just go frame by frame, really easy. And it's done. Now I can use the smart object layers to insert my photos, and I have my unique customized template or social media graphic. Now you might wonder how to create shape layers if the template doesn't have what you need and you want to add it to the existing template. And there are several ways to do so. The easiest is to just go and choose your shape that you want to create. If it's a very basic shape like a rectangle or an ellipse or a polygon, you see, maybe I want to create a triangle. Then I choose the rectangle tool, I draw my rectangle, and then I choose the pen tool, come here, get rid of one of the corners. Now I have a rectangle. Other ways to create a shape layer is by adding a new layer and coming to the pen tool again. Make sure that you have shape selected, and I choose a fill color. Maybe I just choose this pink, and I start to draw a shape. This is good if you have a very free-form organic shape that you need. You see, I created a new shape layer here. This is my organic pink color shape blob. I can of course recolor it. And this one is my rectangle, but it's actually a triangle now. I can recolor this too. The third option to create a shape layer is to go into Adobe Illustrator and create your shape there. Illustrator is really good if you want more intricate shapes like brush strokes or something very free-flowing, organic, because it was created to make these type of shapes, and it's fully vector graphic. So I just draw here this very weird brush strokey shape, and I will just Ctrl C, press Ctrl C, go back to Photoshop, Ctrl V. I said Ctrl V, yeah. And when this pasting panel came up, I don't choose Smart Object Pixel or Path, I choose Shape Layer. And now I could insert in my shape. It has the same little icon on its thumbnail, and if I want to recolor it, I just double click on the thumbnail and I have my cool, weird looking organic brushstroke shape. These are the different ways to create shape layers that I highly recommend you to try in case the template that you have is missing something that you really want to add. Last but not least, let's review how to create and edit text layers. So in this last template I have a quote, and as you can see I created a group of texts, and every text layer has its little icon with a T referring to it that it's a text layer. Now I don't have my text editing panel open, so I have to go up to Window and I will open up Paragraph. Well, that actually opened up the character too. These are the two things that we need. So if you want them to be open, just click on Character or Paragraph and they will open up. As you can see, I have Josephine Slab as my font, but if you want to change the font, you can change it here. You can change the boldness. Let's make it semi-bold or bold. Doesn't make any change. So let's just change it to Isidora. Oh yeah, I have to actually highlight one of the layers. So I highlight this Words of Wisdom. I'm on the layer and I go up here in the character panel and I choose, oh, I actually like this Alley display. I choose this font instead. and I will only have regular for this, but I can change the size. Let's make it bigger. I can change the distance between two rows of text. I can change the kerning, let's say just 0. Yes, I changed the tracking. I can change the height and the width, but I never recommend to do this because you will mess with your beautiful font. So please, please, please don't use these settings, don't change them, just leave them on 100. And if you need a narrower font, go and find a narrower font. Don't make your beautiful fonts into narrow because they will look horrible. Like, look at this. It's horrible, really. Don't do that. Just leave these as they are. Of course, you can make them into all caps or small caps. This is something that I also don't really recommend. If you want a font that has small caps, go with a font that's actually was created in small cap style. Same is true for italic. If that font doesn't have italic, you see it says faux italic. Don't use faux italic because it's just not correct. Go and find a font that has italic settings. But anyway, these are the main settings in the character. You can also set the paragraph type, so you can change the alignment and many other features. These are pretty straightforward. And you can do the same for all of your text layers. So if you think that you don't like the font that's in the template file, or you want to go with a font that's related to your brand, you can easily change it here. If you want to add another text box, you just go down here to this little T icon or press T, and you can either just click and start typing something, and then it's a point-based text box. Well, not actual text box, it's just a point-based typing. Or you can click and draw a rectangle and fill it up with your text. This is how easy it is.